Alright, this is how I like to dive the marine room. Park over here off Spin Drift Drive, somewhere near the marine room restaurant. There's a path that runs between the restaurant and this house. You walk down that path and enter the water. Swim out 50 yards or so. This area is a sandy bottom. During the summertime, you might see leopard sharks out swimming around in there. You drop down somewhere around here, take a bearing on your compass towards the cliffs, and just start heading out. It's a super shallow dive, so it's easy to surface whenever you need to and take a look at where you are. A couple things about this dive. Once you're out here, you can't just swim directly to the beach. If you need an exit, you have to swim back to the same place you entered. The reason is there's a lot of shallow rocks around here. I've seen people come into the shallow areas. There's waves crashing and they've got all cut up. People get hurt out there. It's dangerous. Another thing over here at high tide, the water is going to be smashing against the wall of the marine room restaurants. That's also dangerous. You don't want to enter at high tide and you don't want to end your dive at high tide because you might get knocked around and slammed into the wall. Usually anything below a 2-foot tide is fine. So you need to pay attention to the tide, plan your entry and exit so that the tide is low enough. In the intro you just watched, you can see what it looks like when the water is smashing up against the wall. Even though it was relatively calm that day, it's still dangerous to enter like that. If you find yourself in that situation, then just swim north. You have all this beach to the north you can exit, but you're going to have a long walk around. I don't know if that's a mile or a half mile, but you'll have to walk along the roads to get back to your car. I'll add a link in the description that'll help you figure out what conditions might look like when you get there, but you'll never really know until you get there. Alright, so we parked. We're heading down to the path right here between the house and the marine room restaurant. We're going to walk down. It's low tide right now, which is good. We have an easy approach.
Nice. That's what I want to hear. Thanks.
Somebody just told me the conditions were good, so we're stoked on that. But you'll notice, yeah, you can see plenty of sand. It's going to be easy to get out. And the swell is calm. So we enter directly here. We're looking back at the restaurant. There's a little path we came out. We kick out about 50 yards or so and then drop down. We're dropping down into a sandy bottom. But before you do that, you want to take a bearing toward the cave so we can get towards the reef where the life is. Drop down into the sand and head into that direction. This is where you might see some leopard sharks. There's different rays down here. One of the reasons I like this dive is because of all the light. It's shallow, it's like 15 feet, but the light gets through to the bottom. So you get all these reflections and you can actually see some nice colors, which if you were deeper, you wouldn't be able to see that unless you had some nice lights. But here's a little channel. We have some eel grass on either side, some nice rocks. There's gonna be fish kind of swimming around in here. And I think we head this direction. We did about a half hour or 20 minutes and then turned around and came right back. Here we have is that a halibut? I believe it's a halibut. And here's a kelp bass, also called a calico bass. These guys are interesting. Sometimes if I dangle my fingers down at them, they'll just look up. I don't know if they think it's bait or what, but they'll look up like they're about to go at my fingers. I like this little guy. It's shallow enough here that you can surface when you need to. You're about 15 feet of water. You can surface, come up, take a look around, get an idea of where you are, maybe take a new bearing if you need to. What we're seeing on the right hand side here is La Jolla Cove. Now we're looking at the caves, now Devil's Slide. I don't know what this area is called, but once we go further to the left, right there we're looking at the marine room restaurant again where we started our dive. So as we get further out, we're entering a place that people call Turtle Town because we have a few resident turtles. Check out the banded guitarfish. And another calico bass. And I believe this is a school of opali. Garibaldi right there. California state fish. And it looks like Will found something. Let's go check it out. You can also snorkel this area instead of diving. Most people that do this area snorkel it. For a long time, that's all I did, but when I started diving it was just a completely different experience. There's so much light down there and so much life. I really enjoy it. It's similar to what you might see at La Jolla Cove. They also have lifeguards over at La Jolla Cove, so that might be something you might consider. Here's another banded guitarfish hiding in the sand. It's really cool to find these guys. Sometimes you'll see them just sitting on the sand, and then they'll start flapping and throw the sand up on their back, and they'll completely disappear into the sand. It's really cool to watch. So we're already heading back now. We've turned around, heading back towards the marine room. We've just gotten back into the sand, which means we left the reef, and we're close to the end of our dive. My camera dived shortly after this, so unfortunately I don't have a video of us surfacing and exiting. But this is the general idea of what a dive is like at the marine room. The visibility we had this day is a lot better than most days, so you can't expect this every day. But keep an eye on conditions, be really careful about tide, and watch the surf.